Hey guys, welcome back to Sad Dad. My name's Abigail Apkarian.
My name's Dave Apkarian. And this is a podcast where I sit down with my fellow funny friends. I'm a comedian out of Fresno, California, and we talk about dads. And I have a guest today on the intro. I have a guest on the main show, but I have a guest on the intro also. Hi.
Hi.
How you been?
Great.
You gotta get closer to the microphone. Are you being a goofball?
I don't know. I like being funny.
You like being funny?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what have you been up to?
Nothing much.
Nothing much?
No.
That's not interesting. Tell people something interesting. People like to listen to interesting things.
I just went to Disneyland.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
I went to California Adventure to go to the new place called Pixar Pier that used to be called Paradise Pier.
Uh-huh.
I rode the new Incredicoaster, which used to be called California Screamin'.
Uh-huh. And is it better now than it was? Or you never rode it as
No.
California Screaming, huh?
No.
Yeah? Well, okay. You want to see who my guest is today?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to pull him up on the screen for you right here. Can you read his name?
Theo?
Uh-huh. Can you read his last name?
No.
No? Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Theo Manhattan.
Theo Manhattan.
Yeah. You know what he does?
What?
Well, he's a comedian, but he also is an actor.
What?
Yeah. And he has been on shows on Nickelodeon.
I watch Nickelodeon.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
Pretty neat, huh? I forget what show he was on. I forgot about it. I think he mentions it in the podcast. But yeah, he is from a state that is not California.
Is it in the USA?
Yeah, see, it actually shows it right here. Right there. What's that? Can you read that?
No. I've never seen those words before.
That's Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Minnesota.
That's not how they talk. Not exactly, I guess. But yeah, he's a really nice guy. People can't hear you nod your head. Yeah. We had some of your friends over today. That was fun.
Uh-huh.
It was cool.
Uh-huh. So fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have any stories you want to tell?
No, I don't have any.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You wanted to be on the podcast so bad.
Here's a joke.
Oh, yes. Lay it on me, sister.
What did a glove say to his son that's a hand?
What?
To help him with his homework. Need a hand? Get it?
I do. That's funny. Need a hand? Of course a glove would need a hand. Well, that's neat.
I made that up all on my own.
Oh, you came up with that joke?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Hey, way to go, babe. Joke writing is hard. I have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to be funny. Sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be funny by accident, huh?
Uh-huh.
Like if I tripped and fell down, you'd be like, that is so funny.
Yeah.
But if I was like going to tell you a joke, it may not necessarily be funny. It might be funny to me.
Yeah, but sometimes not to other people.
Yeah, you know what they call that?
What?
They call that subjective.
Subjective?
Yeah. That means it's just different for everybody.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you think of other subjective things? What's something that you like that maybe Isaac doesn't like?
Sometimes when he doesn't want me, I play on his devices. He has his own iPad and his phone. I have a phone too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not a real phone. I mean, it's just an old phone, right?
Yeah, it used to be Mommy's, but it's kind of cracked because of the battery. Mommy's got to take it to the AT&T store and get it fixed.
Yeah, is that the phone you text me on when I was out of state?
Yeah, and called you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta go out of state again.
No!
Remember what state I had to go to? Or I have to go to now? It's the one right above California. Remember it starts with an O?
Oh, yeah, I know that.
You can do this. I believe in you. The first two letters are O-R.
Origami.
No, Oregon.
Oregon.
Gotta go to Oregon.
No.
No, are you gonna miss me?
Yeah.
You gotta. Oh man, you gotta. And you're starting school pretty soon.
Yeah.
A whole new school.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so neat.
And Sanger.
Oh, you can't say it.
Oh.
That's okay.
I didn't say the school name though.
That's good. So yeah, that'll be neat. That'll be fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you excited to meet new friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not scared.
You're not scared?
I'm pumped.
You're pumped? She is literally pounding her chest right now. Where'd you learn how to do that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Wow. All right. You're really beating your chest there.
It doesn't hurt.
No? You want me to I'll play my tummy. That's fun.
That was loud.
That was loud. All right. Well, we're gonna start this episode pretty soon.
Oh.
Do you remember my guest's name today?
Theo
See if you can sound it out. It's actually
Manhattan.
that's right. You nailed it. Theo Manhattan, everybody. Enjoy this episode. We'll catch you on the other side on the outro. Yeah, you're like a salty podcasting pro.
Very salty.
Yeah, you've produced podcasts.
Yes, the I'm Burger podcast. There's this. Do you know the show Brockmire?
Yes.
Yeah, that I love how they combine sports and podcasting.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It makes you like reignite your love for podcasts.
Yeah, totally.
Because this 19-year-old kid is just like, I'm making $500,000 a year off podcasts. Like, what?
Yeah, wait a second.
It's like that. Was it LA Times or LA Weekly? They had that article about what comics make.
I saw
in
the
scene.
I saw the headline, but I didn't read it. I was like, I think I know how this goes.
It was like $1,200 to $3,000 a week, or $3,500 a week.
What?
Like what open mics are you going to?
Yeah, that's not setting a realistic expectation for
No.
people. No.
Like
No.
they even had like pros tweet about it too.
Huh.
And they like Lori Kilmartin for one. She was like, I'm lucky to get gas money from like bar produced shows.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad somebody like said something. Like
There was a whole tirade of like answers back.
yeah.
One guy was like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely true. Just like the writer who wrote this article got $1 million."
What did because I didn't read the article. What was the logic behind? Like, where does the $3,000 a week number come from? Who are they talking to?
Apparently, the writer went around with an agent of sorts, and
Okay.
and that's what the agent was saying, was that you make that kind of money.
Wow, how misguided. And yeah, that's for folks listening. If you've read that article, totally unrealistic. $1,200 to $3,000 a week.
Now,
Yes.
what I will say is that's partly true, because I make about $1,250 to 3,000 pennies in comedy per week. So
That's changed.
it's a
since.
slight twist of
Yeah,
data.
yeah. That's so funny. Okay, if we're breaking it down in those terms, okay, I'm making it as a comic. That's funny. I started recording you about 2.5 minutes ago.
Oh, it's all right.
Just bring it in. I think you picked up on it. You have a very. You seem like you have a podcasting
A keen ear for it.
Yeah, like you heard the clicking in my headphones or something.
Oh, yeah.
You knew.
Well, you're the podcasting expert over
me?
here in Fresno.
Oh, I guess so. I got approached. Actually got approached for kind of a cool project. There's this group. It's like an activist group, here in Fresno, and what they do, they're like a group of like activists and lawyers, and what they do is they work in conjunction with police, but they're not necessarily like law enforcement or anything like that.
Okay.
But what they do is they break up like human trafficking rings. And like they've got like all of these resources and like backers and stuff, and so they're like this group of like really badass like people that are doing these crazy things to like help people.
Sick!
So they don't have like a lot of the
rogue
same like
ring splitters.
Yeah, and they've got all these like nutso stories, and they wanted to like produce a podcast about it, and they were looking around, and like my podcast was like the only decent local podcast they could find, and they were like, "Hey, could you like help us out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And like, it's so funny because this kind of goes along with the whole like comedian thing. Like, I did not place enough value on my ability. They were like, they're like, "What's your rate?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I need some like equipment." And so like if you guys would buy the equipment
do it for free and like a slice of pizza.
Yeah,
usually.
exactly. And they were like, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "No, we have like investors, and we're like a nonprofit. Like we have accountants. Like we have to pay you money." And I was
they like condescend upon you. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean you don't make money off this? You do this for fun?
Yeah, right.
How dare you?
And I was like, wow, I'm so beaten down by being a comedian that I don't value myself to ask for money.
Hey, what is pay?
Yeah.
It's like if Oliver Twist didn't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I need less. I don't need more.
So you're Theo Manhattan.
Yeah.
You are. You got a really cool name.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Stage name.
Is it? Don't spoil it for me.
Well, is it?
You descend from a long line of Manhattans.
Very. It was originally Staten Island, and then they split into
Staten
the wrong
Island.
clan. So they're like, we have to go with the Manhattans, and sure enough, my first stand-up gig when I got here, I was offered $1 million contract.
Is that how?
As a matter of
wow.
fact, $1,250
You
is
just
$3,000
walked
a
into
week.
You know what's funny too is like that story is not far off. Like if we were doing comedy in the 90s when they were giving out all those like TV deals to everybody, as I was just listening to like Bert Kreischer talk about that. Like he was doing comedy for 6 months and then he got offered a 6-figure deal.
Totally deserves it, but
I love Bert Kreischer
that
too.
time frame is ridiculous.
That's nuts, dude. Like I couldn't even imagine doing comedy for 6 months and then they're throwing all of that money at you.
Like, hey, you want to take off your shirt and get paid for it?
Yeah, totally. And it was a development deal, so it was like for a TV show, and that was back.
So
in
it was
the
like
90s.
a network deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
And so
it was a travel show.
No, this was like they wanted them to develop a sitcom. So
sweet, yeah, because he's Van Wilder.
He is.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It's
they made a whole
cool.
movie
I thought
about
it was
him.
just like a made up douchebag.
He's one of
Clan.
legitimately like one of my heroes in comedy, and but at the same time too, I'm like, man, we should have. Well, I guess we were children, but we should have been doing this back in the 90s. But
and the even like the 60s and 70s too. Like I have a friend who's he was around in the 60s and stuff, like doing in the 70s at the store. He told me that he was not there 1 month at the store and he got passed by Mitzi.
Whoa.
A month in.
Good for him, man.
Holy
Holy shit.
Nut. And nowadays it's like you get the stampede at the potluck and they're like, 1 month. That's just how long it takes to wait in line.
Yeah. Have you seen that Gary Shandling documentary on? I think it's on HBO.
Bits and pieces. The Zen of Shandling.
It's really good, but he talks a lot about that. Like Mitzi had some weird ideas about like you couldn't be a writer and a comedian. Like she felt like they were just two totally different like schools of like comedic discipline, and like Gary came from the television world, like before he got into stand up, and he had the hardest time getting passed by Mitzi just because by his nature she didn't believe that he should be working there, and so he had like a lot to prove.
Oh, what do you mean you can't write what do you mean you can write your own jokes and be cohesive?
I'm just going off what the documentary said. I think it's wacky too. I'm not going to defend anybody. It's just it's pretty
Yeah,
I think if you're funny, you're funny.
that's all it is.
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously, there's some differences. You know, you gotta worry about timing and like, you know, and being a performer and everything. But still,
And if you weren't fired by Mitzi, then you weren't a real comic.
that's true too. That seems like a really cool badge of honor. Yeah.
I got fired by Mitzi 5 times.
Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
I was just gonna say it's like an infomercial. Has this ever happened to you? Mitzi's just firing you.
And you're originally from Minnesota?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Is that where you started comedy, or did you?
No, I started out here. I actually moved here to be a writer.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole life. It's so stupid to say my whole life. I didn't just like pop out with pens and start concocting horror stories. But like growing up, I was really into a lot of horror stuff, macabre, occult stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I just started writing short stories, like short horror stories. I wrote poetry.
Nice.
I had like a couple poetry manuscripts that I made, and I was like actively trying to be a world-renowned poet.
Really?
Yeah, that was a huge. I was like, I need to be on poetsandwriters.com looking at contests,
wow.
and I submitted.
I do. Okay. Can I ask you like dumb questions about poetry for just a second?
Oh, totally.
I promise this won't like last long. But like poetry,
As long as it's in iambic pentameter, you can ask.
What is like the? How do you get into poetry? Because like I want to like it, and like sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know. Like I mean, I've read poems and I like them, but like I'm not enough to like be a buff about it. So like for you, what was your draw to like poetry? I mean,
It's actually a school requirement that
Sure.
if you're picked last on the team, then you have to do poetry. So I really had no choice.
So you were terrible at dodgeball and
Yep.
decided to become a poet.
So I was actually that weird kid who would sit out of dodgeball and read Harry Potter.
Really?
I was
like for real?
It was like Harry Potter Goblet of Fire came out, and I got almost all of them opening day.
Wow.
Either that or like a couple days after. And I was like, I have to read this. And people would be like, come on, man, play dodgeball. Like, and balls are flying. I'm like, yeah, but I need to know what Hermione saw in the Pensieve. Looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I was.
Yeah.
But no, you like poetry. Like I've always been an avid reader. So and my mom's an English professor.
Oh, okay. So you had a bit of an appreciation for it, just growing
absolutely.
up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that counts for a lot. Like a lot of my like love of like fantasy and sci-fi. You know, obviously it came from my parents. You know, because they were big sci-fi and fantasy nerds. And you
Great
know, like
parents.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I guess maybe. Yeah, I guess maybe if they had instilled that same appreciation if they were into poetry, maybe that would have helped. But
Yeah, my mom was like the poetry and historical kind of reader and things like that, or like fairy tales. We'd always read fairy tales to each other. But my dad was the fantasy sci-fi guy.
Oh, cool!
Like
You
got
got
me
it on
into
both
Lord of the
ends.
Rings,
Hell yeah.
Dune. Ray Bradbury is my mom's, but my dad was like, "Oh, you need to read The Invincible by Stanislav Lem, like this Polish guy who's been out of print for decades, and he somehow knows about it."
That's rad, man. And so you wanted to be a writer, and so it sounds like you were writing a lot. You had a kind of a taste for horror.
Yeah, horror's just the best.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It just captures the imagination, and other fill in the blank cliches. But no, I've always been like a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. Yeah. You
Yeah.
read a ton of Stephen King.
First
I have too,
first thing
actually.
of his I got into was The Green Mile, actually.
Oh, how funny! Yeah.
Because it was one of the first movies I saw my dad cry.
Really?
I mean, the ending of The Green Mile is so sad.
Yeah, it really is. Well, and that was one of, I don't know. I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember that book as it was coming out.
Oh, wow.
It was published as like a serial, like it came out in chunks.
Yeah, it was
And
like 5 parts or 6 parts.
yeah.
something like that.
And
Yeah.
my mom was really into it, and like it was the first time I ever saw my mom. Like she was like this thing needs to come out. Like, they need to release this, the next volume. And I'm not sure why they did it like that. I don't know if it was just a weird marketing gimmick or
probably.
I don't know.
I mean, because they were doing serializations in the 1910s.
Yeah,
or
right.
20s.
Yeah.
Let's keep them cliffhanging in a newspaper.
Yeah, and as far as I know, that's the only Stephen King novel that was like that. I don't think he released anything else in that same way.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, and so you're a horror fan. You decide you want to make the move from Minnesota out to California. What was that whole situation?
Darn
Tell me about that.
I mean, so it's the cliches, obviously, it's so cold, the winter sucks. We all get that. Mm-hmm. It was more of a tox. It was a number of factors that had me move. Mm-hmm. First off, my older brother who lives in Porter Ranch now. He has his own production warehouse.
Oh, wow.
And team. But he and I grew apart, same dad, different moms.
Oh, okay.
So it would be 6 years between seeing him at times.
Oh, wow.
So this was another 6 years goes by, and I'm in almost getting done with college essentially.
Uh-huh.
And I've been writing a lot of stories since then. I just get a call out of nowhere from my brother.
And you're going to college in Minnesota?
Yep.
Is that, okay, got it.
Uh-huh. I went to a private college for the first 2 years and then community college the last two.
You did it backwards.
Yeah. It took me 4 years to get an associate's degree.
Nice.
It sucks.
Uh-huh.
My brother just calls me out of nowhere 6 years later. He's like, hey, bro, what's happening? Don't know if you know, but I do stuff in LA and all that. I'm like, yeah, Dad's told me. He's like, well, I've been seeing some of your writing on Facebook, and
I know shit.
I like what I read. You want to help me write a short film? I'm like,
yeah,
that's cool. It'd be a bonding thing. We'd get to reconnect, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We go through 6 drafts of that. We kind of scrap it, and then I get a call from him maybe a couple months later. There's a friend of his who back in the 90s was they tried to kill him. His name's John Daly.
Oh, Jesus.
Former skinhead who's also Jewish. So he wanted to tell his story, and they wanted me to write a drama biopic about his life.
Whoa.
So my brother paid. He gave me a good pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, he said, "Hey, you know what? You're more useful out here than you are over there."
Yeah, what are you even doing out there? Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, totally, because here's the next layer, Dave, what really just jettisoned it all, cut the cord, was I was dating my girlfriend for 2 years at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I had a best friend for 10 years. We met in high school, but inseparable. All three of us were best friends, constant hangout. Then we move into a house all together, and this was September of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks later, she was She essentially broke up with me and broke the lease. 3 months in I was more pissed about the lease than the actual breakup. I'm you're still paying rent until you sign off on this. And then it turns out 4 days later that my best friend and her started dating.
Ah, no.
So she was essentially cheating on me for him, and then we got in huge fights about that. But to me, it was a blessing in disguise. Because my brother's voice was in the back the whole time.
Yeah.
He was place for you in L.A.
Yeah, there's nothing for you here. Yeah.
I have nothing left.
Yeah,
I'm totally going, hey, bro, she broke up with me. Yeah. I'm going to L.A.
How funny.
So I spent my first 3 months living at his place. And he actually turned the movie into a documentary.
Oh, cool.
Which is out in Jewish film festivals right now.
No shit.
Getting shopped around.
Wow.
It's called Escape from Room 18.
And you've got the writing credit on it?
No, because that was just for the biopic, but they just decided to go the documentary route.
Oh, gotcha.
Which, once I saw it, way better choice.
Sure.
So it's a phenomenal documentary, and then it was like 3 months into me living in LA. Mm-hmm. A lady I worked with was like, she's like from Tennessee. She was like, Thea, you're so funny. You need to try stand-up.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, it sounds scary.
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty scary.
Why can't we just talk to each other and joke around? Nah, come on, you be funny. Like, I book a show. I'll give you 5 minutes. You'll do it this Thursday. This Thursday.
Whoa.
That was like 4 days.
Yeah.
So I had to like obsessively concoct like a 5-minute set, which of course was shit.
Sure. I mean, it always is, but that's okay. You're doing
at the
damn
time,
thing.
you're like, they're gonna laugh at
So
this.
your first spot wasn't necessarily an open mic spot. It was like a spot.
Yeah, I if I remember correctly, Brian Kiley from Conan was the headliner of that show. Like the headliner of Conan. I was like,
holy shit.
Is this what comedy's always like?
Yeah, it's kind of setting the bar unusually high early on. How funny. And so so you write that 5 minutes. You're out here and you're doing it, man. And you were hooked after that, huh? How did that first set go?
It's I got this man who like yelled at me while I was doing a segment of my act. It was like, well, act in quotation marks. but I hear just out of nowhere, you can do better than that.
Oh, jeez.
And the whole room turned like, it just hushes.
Ooh.
And and of course, like when you've never done stand up, you have no heckler lines.
Yeah, right. Like, what do you even do?
So I'm like, thanks a lot, Dad.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great recovery.
But no one else thought so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
people were just like, I actually invited 2 of my good friends to see that show, and I don't think they've talked to me since.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was that bad.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, you did great tonight headlining. It was a fun set, man. Everybody had a great time. So
it was just like a fun energy in that room,
it was.
too.
Yeah, it was a great night. It was a good Monday, man. Yeah.
The Chicos, everybody.
The Chicos, every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday if you're in the Fresno scene. Well, that's great. And so you started hitting the open mics after that? Is that?
Yeah, it was like there was like this place called Groundwork Coffee Shop that I was doing open mics at, and then I would just go to like anywhere that they had that was close by.
And were you kind of performing more or less in like L.A. or were you starting off
L.A. only?
Oh wow, okay.
Actually, after that first show, I was like so downtrodden. But then Rebecca was her name. She's like, oh no, Thea, you did great. I want you to come back for my show next week at the Comedy Store.
What?
I was like, okay, did you just see what happened?
Yeah,
tonight?
yeah,
There's
right.
no way. I thought the store was only for like gods of comedy.
Yeah.
Like you had to be just rich and famous to play there.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, there's no way. Rebecca, you're crazy. It's like, you did it tonight. You can do it. I'm like,
she sounds really encouraging, but she's also sounds kind of stressful.
she can be. And these were like bringer shows. I didn't know that at the time.
Oh, gotcha.
But she like never kicked me out for. She just didn't really care that much.
Whatever.
Cool.
She sounds cool as shit.
She's awesome. She makes great frittata. That's how I remember her at work, is her frittata, dude.
How funny. And so, okay, so then you started going up at the Comedy Store. That's like, whenever I hear people say like, oh, because I know a few people, it's like, oh, yeah, I started at the Comedy Store. I'm like, wow, that's a really unrealistic expectation of like, oh, you're starting on the biggest comedy stage in the world. There's a lot of bar shows you're gonna have to do, right? Like,
you have so many other choices.
I mean, I started at a barcade. The first place I ever did comedy was at Barmageddon.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a great first place to like do comedy. I felt I'm glad I started there. I couldn't imagine starting at the world famous Comedy Store.
You know what, too? Like it wasn't like I started there, but it was like the one time I played in like almost a year there. So like for listeners, I don't want people to think like I'm saying I'm a regular or some crap. Like, I made the store the way it is.
You have your name written on the wall in giant capital letters. It's red
in the
spray
bathroom.
Paint. Yeah,
probably, but
it's in Sharpie, but it's there.
But you know, like What was crazy was like you get the regular stage fright that you do before shows, but I wasn't really that intimidated on the stage when I got up.
Oh, that's cool.
Because you still have that like new car smell to it, where you don't know what to expect.
Were you in like the belly room or where
main room?
Main room?
Yeah, this was main room.
Holy shit!
Which just is the whole thing is crazy because she had like Kirk Fox on the show too, and if I'm not mistaken, Matt Edgar might have been on it.
And now, I mean, again, I've never performed there, but like, it's kind of almost like an international audience, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's a lot of like tourists and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen like jokes not go over due to like a misunderstanding in pop culture or anything? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that ever an issue there?
Oh, I mean, there's so many times where you're like, you guys remember Chumbawamba, right? It's just crickets.
Nope. That's so funny.
I actually with Chumbawamba, my grandma one time, I had a status where I said like, what does a man have to do to get some Chumbawamba around here? And my grandma comments, I don't know what that is, but if I did, I would make you some and send it to you. Like she thought it was a casserole.
Oh, that's so funny. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, and then we'll get into some dad stuff.
Yeah.
But like you have such a positive attitude. Like I think.
Thanks, Dave.
I think you're like one of the most positive people in my Facebook feed.
Oh, cool.
You know, and like in addition to that, you're just a really like warm person. I mean, like we had never met before. You showed up yesterday at my house, and you gave me a big old hug. And like,
I mean, we're huggers. We're California.
And that was my question too. Is like where does that come from? Is that sort of like a midwestern sensibility you feel like, or is that like just how you were raised? Or
I think I had a good upbringing.
Sure.
I was touched a lot as a kid in a good way. In a good way, Dave.
Okay. Fair enough.
I was touched in a very good way, very positive. But Midwest has a lot to do with it too, because a lot of like dating's easy in the Midwest.
Interesting.
And not because the women are easy, but like everyone's so genuine as far as like women there, like, or if you're a girl, like the guys there, like just people in general there as far as dating, like if you're just yourself, like your personality is much more important than your looks.
Interesting.
So like they just care more that you're yourself, and then they can deal with whatever you look like later.
We'll circle back around to the whole attractiveness thing.
Yeah, but it's pretty good as far as like wholesome people.
Sure.
I'd say more just because I had parents that loved me and taught me to like. I didn't like know what racism was until like later on.
Oh, interesting.
Like you don't really learn racism as a kid, really.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, unless it's taught, of course, and it doesn't sound like it was taught to you. You know.
Yeah. Not like I kind of just figured it out for myself.
It's almost it's like a learned behavior. You know.
Like it didn't matter what color of the skin they had. It was like you either play Yu-Gi-Oh or you don't. I mean,
that's funny. And so this is a podcast where we talk about dads.
All right.
And Theo, you have a dad.
And you do too.
I do too. And I very intentionally made an effort not to ask you about your dad. And we've been hanging out for the last, 36 hours. And I haven't brought it up yet. But
it's been a good 36 hours.
I always like to start like as far back as I can. So like, where did your dad grow up? What's his first name, by the way?
So my dad's original name was Corey Witten.
Okay.
When he was born, my dad, one of the strangest men I've ever met in my life. He actually changed his name 3 different times.
Okay.
The first time was when he moved to Israel in '81, and he was a kibbutz farmer.
Funny.
He like picked fig trees, olives, avocados, that kind of stuff.
I respect that.
Yeah. He just wanted to like labor and just living on a commune with other Israelis.
He was kind of like a hippie Jewish person.
Very much.
Yeah.
Like he's always been a nomad. So like he grew out his hair the length mine is, which is nipple length for listeners. It tickles the nips.
Yep.
And then he like grew out his beard too. So like he was always like running and jogging and stuff. So he'd have his rays calling out, "Hey, Bennett, hey, Jesus, hey, Jesus, come back."
Wow.
His Israeli name, if I'm not, it was Eliyahu Ben-Ari or something like that.
Oh wow.
So they just called him Eli for short.
Okay.
Then when he moved to Minnesota,
Real quick, how do you get a Jewish name? Is it like, you know what I mean? Like, he had a name and then he moved to Israel and they're like, okay, here's your assigned Jewish name. Is that like, how does that work?
I honestly don't know.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We would have to get a Jewish expert.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a Jewish expert on?
I mean,
the show?
Nat's here, but I don't know. I don't know if Nat. Do you know the answer to that, Nat?
You just get someone who knows what your translation would be.
Oh, okay.
All right. Translation.
Fair enough. All right.
Cool.
So you translated from
Eliyahu is apparently the
Hebrew.
winner.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like the Hebrew translation of his American name.
Yeah,
his God-given name.
And that wasn't even the last part of it. Like he moved to Minnesota and he changed his name to an anagram.
Oh.
Because he wanted to make an anagram out of wandering philosopher, so he changed his name to Sorafel. Yeah, he changed it. It was like Sor Lief Auden.
Oh goodness!
It was originally Sorafel Auden, and then he changed his first name to Sor. His middle name was Leif, and Auden was the last.
I feel like we have a lot to talk about.
There's a lot of layers.
So
that's just his name. That's not even his life.
And that was just his name.
Yeah.
Where did he grow up?
He was born in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Was there for like maybe 1 or 2 years, and then him and his family uprooted and moved to Croton and like Kruger's in New York.
Oh, okay.
Like that area.
What was do you know at all what he was like as a kid? Was he like popular? Was he a jock? Was he what kind of?
So my his parents, my grandma and grandpa, who are both gone now, but my grandma was like this Jewish atheist, like a scholar almost.
Oh wow.
Like stay-at-home mom. And his dad was an advertising guy. He had his own advertising company. Also a phenomenal photographer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He my grandma, when I visited her before she died, gave me one of his cameras from the 70s. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So my dad actually growing up was self-taught in a lot of things.
Sure.
But they were raised to be like Renaissance men.
I was gonna say it sounds almost like a kind of a bohemian upbringing. Like it sounds like he was very cultured in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he didn't really know a lot of music. Like his brother would listen to all the records and stuff. But his idea of rock and roll is like the Who, and which is my idea of rock too.
Sure.
But, like the Who and Strawberry Alarm Clock and weird stuff like that.
Sure.
So he wasn't that popular in school, which I get because he. But yeah, he made up for it in brains.
Sure, and he just worked on being an interesting guy. Interesting. I mean, it sounds like he's a pretty interesting dude. Very
philosophical. Like. Also, like one of the most fickle men too that I've ever met. He's I don't want to say OCD because that feels too blanketed, but
sure.
He's neurotic in the sense that whatever he sets his mind to, hobby wise, it's to the T. He has to do it perfectly, stickler for rules, or else it's no good.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you and like that seems like an interesting like dichotomy because it sounds like he was kind of a free spirit too. You know, like
You would think, yeah. Like, who needs rules? But,
So they uproot the family. They move him to New York.
Yep.
From Chicago.
Yep.
And he, at what point? So he goes through. He's kind of a dorky, slightly unpopular kid.
Yep.
And but then he decides at some point. What point does he make that move to Israel? Like what's going on in his life at that point that kind of.
So his life around that point is he graduates high school and he has a very on and off again relationship with college.
Okay.
So like he's in college at Stony Brook for like a semester until he drops out.
Okay.
And then he has no job either. So he like lives off his parents essentially and like girlfriends. He's kind of a libertine to be honest. Like he got a lot of ladies.
Yeah, attaboy.
It was I was like, go dad, all right. As long as they were into it, that's totally cool. But he just basically was broke and homeless almost.
Sure.
And around the age of 21, he just decided to go travel Europe and like go to Switzerland and Israel. And his trip there was just unbelievable. Like he got arrested in Yugoslavia.
What was? Do you know that story?
Just the fact that he like didn't have a passport essentially.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, like the reason why he got back to America from Israel, like he ran out of money, he lost his ticket. It was these two Canadian twin ladies lied for him to the boarding patrol.
Wow.
And he was able to like cargo himself to America.
That's so cool. Your dad sounds so cool.
He's super cool.
Yeah.
He can talk to you about any topic, especially academically, for at least half an hour.
Wow. And so he ends up like he takes his trip and then ends up in Israel and he's like, I kind of like it here. Is that what
for
it
like
was?
2 years.
Wow.
And that's where he met his first wife, which is my older brother's mom. They met at
the same brother that you were talking about earlier?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
And for his first wife, fluent in 7 languages.
Whoa.
And my older brother is fluent in like 5 languages.
Wow.
And I just have English. Un poquito español. Ein bisschen Deutsch, but like that's about it.
You also speak tongues.
That's
I
right.
heard you speaking tongues on stage tonight.
I told you it was going to get wild. It's an unhinged show.
It was an unhinged show. It was so fun. Yeah. And so he meets his first wife.
Yep.
Yeah, and do they get married in Israel?
They do.
Wow.
Yep. It was a really small ceremony. It might have been Switzerland, actually, because there was a Christian conference called L'Abri. And just like a lot of born-again Christians there. So they meet, they mingle, they get together.
So is your dad, he's Jewish ethnically, but is he also, does he practice a religion or?
He's especially growing up, this is why, like, partly why he's so fickle is I felt like I woke up like once a week to him being like, we're doing a new religion.
Oh, interesting.
It changed so many times.
Really?
Like I almost felt like he spun a wheel before he decided. I was like, this madness has to end.
Yeah.
We practiced Judaism when I was in 4th grade. Like we'd go to the Chabad house every Saturday, and like they'd be like, all right, like after the candles and the prayers, like we're not allowed to play Monopoly. Like they actually wouldn't let you play Monopoly.
How funny,
because it's
like
handling money.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
That is crazy. I would have never made. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but I just didn't know that like Monopoly money's a hill you're gonna die on.
Right? If we're dying on that hill.
Yeah, right.
They like you couldn't do any electronics, so it was like all right, let's play a game.
Yeah.
So look through their games. All right, we can play all of them except Monopoly. All right, let's play Mastermind.
Do you know? And it's okay if you either don't know or don't want to get into it. But do you know what the difference was between your brother's mom and your dad? Like, do you know why that they split up, or do you know anything about that, or was
I've asked them multiple times, and it was really like a growth of.
I was gonna say, it sounds like they're pretty young at the time.
Very.
Yeah.
It was really just like sex and money, like any other couples would.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
honestly, like my dad is hard to live with. Like he's just so neurotic to the point where it has to be his schedule. It has to be a certain way.
Sure.
And with him like being broke, like retired. I mean, he's retired, so he doesn't have a lot of money. He can't really take people out, so it's not good for a spouse.
Right.
And not good for like amazing dad like raising kids. Mm-hmm. As far as being a parent, I honestly couldn't ask for anyone better.
Sure.
Like he's a dad who divorced my mom, and instead of just heading for the hills, he like stayed. Hey, I'm gonna pick him up after school.
That's cool.
Like supervise him. I'll take care of him, and I'll be there when you pick him up.
And at what point does he, while he's in Israel, so he's married, he has a kid, and he's still in Israel at this point? Or do they?
They kind of split ways, and then she raised him in Switzerland.
Oh, you raised your brother in Switzerland?
Yeah, because they also had my sister too.
Oh, no shit.
So they had two kids, and then my dad had 2 kids with my mom.
And so how long were him and his first wife married? Was it
2 years roughly?
Oh, wow. Yeah. They just hammered it out, man.
Yeah, it was wham bam, thank you, man.
And so was it the split with her that prompted him to come back to the United States, or was he just kind of like, nah, I think I've had this experience. I'm ready to go back home.
Yeah, I think it was more that.
Yeah,
I think he was just kind of getting disillusioned with the whole Francis Schaeffer thing at La Brea. And, he was just like, I'm just gonna take the Shoelace Express back.
And does he come back and does he decide to go back to school at any point, or does he just jump into what does he do for work?
So he had a lot of odd jobs, but the most memorable job is being a dental technician. That's like his last big job he had before retiring. Like he'd make molds of your teeth and like model them so people could make like the retainers and all that, or different crowns and stuff.
Sure.
And it paid well, but my dad just has this stress tolerance of nothing, so he was like, can't do that. But what else? What was the other thing you asked?
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, so did he ever finish up school? Or?
Oh, right. He went to Crossroads College in our hometown, with Rochester, Minnesota. That was a Bible college. But then he was just like, no, I can't do it.
No, sure. He wasn't. I mean, I get that.
He's not a college grad.
And that's okay, man. Like school, and I'm kind of the same way where, like, college and myself just didn't disagree. Or
it's not for
agree.
everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of find your own way, though. It's all right, and I kind of like totally get where your dad is coming from.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm not gonna be in that much debt.
Yeah, right. I also think it's totally speculate. I think I might have both my brothers had like ADHD, and they're like, oh yeah, Dave's lucky he didn't get it. But I'm like, I don't know. You guys never like tested me, you know? Like,
are you sure I'm okay?
Yeah, right. So I've always wondered if that's maybe some of my frustration with school is like, oh, maybe I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just have a bad attention. I don't know. Anyway.
But it saved you a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. That's for sure.
I mean, my younger brother still hasn't graduated high school, and he's 25.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
is he doing okay?
He knocked up my sister-in-law. Still love you, sis. But her parents basically forced him into a shotgun wedding, and he can't really finish school, like high school. He had so many years, but like he had a weed quote unquote addiction. Because like when you're in Minnesota, when it's like not legal and stuff, it's highly demonized.
Sure.
Like weed. You must be a horrible person for smoking that. And like, I saw all of his drawings that he had in his notebooks, and they were like mushrooms and fairies. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I can't believe this. Like, what? I felt like McCarthy, like with my own brother. And then he like showed up high one time, and his eyes were all red, and he had like a devil may care attitude, but I thought it was him being just an asshole. So I was like, Joey, are you high? You're being a total dick. And he was just like, oh man, shut up, dude. And now looking back, when I moved here, I'm like, no, you were doing the right thing. I don't know what issues you had.
Sure.
But my brother also had like an alcohol problem, and that was a real issue.
Sure, that's tough to deal
just
with.
no time for high school.
Yeah, right.
Amazing handyman though. He can fix your car, your truck, and he's prolific.
Oh well, hey man, everybody's got their own journey, you know.
Right.
And so, at what point in your dad's situation does your mom come into it? Like, how does he meet your mom?
So it was 1990 sometime.
Okay.
I'm not gonna like think about the season because I don't remember. It was 1990.
It's okay.
It's important that you guys know it was between fall and winter. The leaves were about to change, but they weren't there.
It's not a quiz, I promise. It's okay if you get that one part wrong.
Podcast pop quiz. And they actually met at a ballet studio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what took me aback too. My mom was already there because my sisters, who were her kids from her first marriage, they were doing ballet lessons, and my dad was there for ballet lessons.
Oh, funny.
My dad, that was his next thing, was learning dance. Like my dad in a tutu. I was like, are you kidding? My dad was pirouetting.
Yeah. Your dad was like, fuck this dental thing. I'm learning ballet.
Well, the dental was after that.
Oh, how
this
funny.
was in
Okay,
like the
I get
2000s. But it was...
I love that your dad's just like giving up on everything. He's like, that's it. I'm doing ballet.
That's what he thought to do.
Yeah, right. That's your fallback.
Let's see. I've mastered crocheting, knitting, tatting, all the needlework. I've mastered knots. I'm in the Knots Guild.
Yeah, right.
Now ballet.
I know you've said it a couple of times in passing, but you've mentioned your dad retiring.
Yep.
And so did he like settle on a career and he actually retired, or did he? What did he retire?
Well,
from?
retiring because he got sick of it. Basically,
like sick of work. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
I think my dad has a stress disorder, to be honest.
Sure.
Like he has general anxiety disorder, but he was doing that job for 2 or 3 years, I want to say. Like he had the money where he could just show up at my elementary school and say, "Hey Theo, I'm signing you out. We're seeing Attack of the Clones."
Fuck yeah.
I'm like, all right, see
Dad.
you suckers. Have fun learning about George Washington.
Losers.
I'm seeing Django Fett, motherfuckers.
How funny.
But yeah, it was he retired just because of stress, really. And,
Sure.
So like no pension or anything, but
was he able to get on like disability or
yeah,
anything?
yeah, that's what he's on.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. That's my older brother was in a similar situation, where he's bipolar and he's had to just deal with a lot. And some people like your dad, probably my older brother to a certain extent. I mean, maybe it's like they're just born in the wrong era. Like my older brother.
Yeah.
He's really like artistic and but he doesn't necessarily conform well to like the modern world,
right.
Whereas if he was born in like the 1700s, he'd probably be like a fucking Renaissance man. You know what I mean? Like because there was no standard for modern living. I mean,
no one knew what crazy was back then.
Yeah, right. And yeah, some people just not engineered for modern life. It's all a relatively new thing.
Yeah, all these days like ADHD's fairly new. Like even Asperger's and autism are fairly new.
Yeah.
Oh man, that Moscow Mule, good stuff.
Is it kicking in? That was good. That dude bought you that drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got back from a show, folks. I guess we didn't really make that clear. Theo headlined, and he had a fucking great set. It was good.
Thanks.
It got a little wacky. That dude that bought was it that bald guy that bought you the
Yeah.
drink? Yeah.
From Philly.
He got real creepy at the end, though.
What?
Yeah, like he was talking to one of the wait staff, and she was like she was done for the night, so she's like grabbed a seat at the bar, and that dude like latched onto her, and like Danny and I had to like kick the guy out. Like it was after you guys left. Yeah, we were like, dude, it's closed, and then he like creeped around the front window, like looking in the window, like
At her.
That
is creepy.
Yeah, we had
dude.
to like walk her out the back door. It was. Yeah, it was.
Oh, why are people like this?
I don't know, man. Like, he was super drunk, but I mean, that's not an excuse. But I mean, I'd like to hope he wouldn't be like that in, like on a Tuesday morning.
Seriously.
But whatever. Oh man, your dad is so interesting, and I feel like we've barely. I don't know. I feel like we've made some progress on him. We're totally like we've totally already hit the mark that I shoot for.
Oh man.
But let me ask you this. You've kind of touched on it at a couple of points already, but like, what was your relationship like with your dad?
It's always like untouchable and invincible when you're growing up,
Sure.
and then as you grow up and realize that they make mistakes and aren't human, then it kind of gets a bit more rocky.
Sure.
Like I've lost patience with him just because, like, in terms of like some of his archaic thoughts or beliefs, or just sometimes, like, when I know I have to talk to him on the phone, it's going to be like an hour, and like you have to schedule that hour.
Yeah, right. It's exhausting.
It is, and it's like sometimes it's just about minutia, and you're like,
Yeah, we're getting
more
like,
interesting.
we're getting like real lost in the weeds here, Dad.
Yeah.
Does he still kind of have some of those wackier ideas on like religion, or like where's he at with that whole situation?
He's been on and off with like Christianity, especially. Like, it seems like a year goes by or 2 years goes by and he's atheist, and like that's when he's cool, Dad. I mean, I'm not atheist myself, but atheist version of him is the coolest version. And
like, do you feel like it's, I don't know, religion is sort of a way to like reconcile some of the stuff that he's got going on internally, like it's like he's able to kind of like project some of his own insecurities and at least get some kind of like security in this like blanket of religion. And I mean, is that why maybe he's like changing it all the time, because he's always kind of in that like honeymoon period with?
Well, to quote yesterday and tomorrow's headliner, Nat Baumel, nothing matters. So for atheism and him, like the fact that he only believes that this is the life that's there, and that's it, and intellectualism rules, like that's what he needs.
Sure.
So like
Sure.
nothing matters.
Yeah. So is he? Nothing matters in your opinion, or nothing matters in his opinion?
Well, in his opinion, just him he calls himself an atheist mystic.
Okay.
So like no God, or like atheism to him is just like no institutionalized religion.
I see.
Or like a religion of a revealed God.
Okay.
So he's more into like just the energies of like quantum physics and dark matter.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like he got me. He actually got me into like Stephen Hawking and other like Richard Feynman, like physicists and quantum mechanic scientists in like middle school. Like I was reading Brief History of Time in like 6th grade.
I mean, that's kind of neat, dude. And,
Yeah.
And then all the while, your mom is a poet. She's a
published poet.
a
too.
published poet.
Yeah.
And what a kind of a cool way to like, and like growing up, like how old were you when your folks split?
I actually remember it was June of '94, so I
wow.
was 2 years old at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2.
And so you don't necessarily have like real vivid memories of them being together.
No, the thing is I I only have memories of them like separating and then like getting back together and like that being on and off for a while,
Sure.
and then just one day it's just mom and just dad, and there's like custody rules all of a sudden. Like, but you don't know any of that as a kid.
Sure.
You're just like, where the hell did dad go?
Did your mom ever remarry, or did she?
She had an on and off boyfriend named Alberto.
I like Alberto. Yeah,
And I met him a couple times in person, but like because my bedtime was always so early, I would only hear him.
Nice.
Yeah,
Go your mom.
yeah. So him and my mom got it on, and then
Hey, they had an understanding, and it sounds like they enjoyed each other's company. And
yeah, he treated her well. He's a cardiologist for Doctors Without Borders.
Hell yeah, dude! This guy sounds rad as shit. Yeah,
But he's just, I asked, like, my mom what happened to him after a while, and I guess, like, I don't know, like, now looking back, it's, like, typical guy excuses when you hear it from women, but, like, just got too busy for her or something like that, or...
sure.
So, I mean, my mom was fine with it, and so it's good. My mom's just living in Nashville right now.
Oh, okay.
So she's enjoying the warmer climate.
Hey,
she's
bless
close
her.
to my family.
She sounds like a cool lady too.
Very. I love
Yeah.
I love my mom and dad.
I should one day. I think I want to do like sad mom bonus content.
That would be cool.
Where I ask people about their moms. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish this wasn't a podcast about dads. Because this guy's mom sounds cool too. Like
Yeah.
that's it's very cool. And so like. Where is your dad still back in Minnesota, or where does he live now?
Yep, still in Rochester, Minnesota.
Did he ever remarry, or is he just living the bachelor life?
He actually remarried his first wife.
Really?
Yeah, it was like some years back, and that lasted 2 years again.
I was like, whoa, plot twist.
Right? I was saving the best for last. Storytelling at its finest.
How cool. But it's cool that you... Now, do you still have, like... It sounds like you're close... I mean, you mentioned your brother... the one brother you have living in L.A.
Yep.
It sounds like you guys have a pretty good relationship. Do you still have a pretty good relationship with all your siblings? Or?
Most of them. My older brother took when I moved in, like he's ex-special forces from the Israeli military.
What?
The Golani.
Holy shit.
So he's like legit special forces.
Wow.
So that military training like kind of shifted his work ethic.
Sure.
And so he became like an absolute perfectionist. So
weird.
like after a while, like nothing is good enough for him.
Now, this is the older brother on your mom's side? Or this
Dad's
on your
side.
Dad's side?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I have older sisters on my mom's side, but like we have a fantastic relationship.
Oh, that's great.
My older brother on my dad's side, like we've gotten into arguments before because he just was like way too strict about stuff and just kind of being a dick.
Yeah.
And then there'd be on points it's like, oh cool, all right, we're talking again, and he hires me for like PA work for stuff, and we talk too, but there were times when he would like scream at me because I like ruined his boots that he had me wear to mow the lawn in. I was like, it's your, if they're so sentimental to you shouldn't have let me wear them in a yard, dude. He's like, those were my boots that I wore in the military, and a shoelace is broken and you ruined, they're all green. I'm like,
wow.
That's what you told me to use. Except way more F words.
Yeah, it
involved.
sounds like he was kind of setting you up for failure on that one.
Yeah, because we didn't talk for like a year after that argument.
Whoa, after the boots argument?
Yeah, the boots did it in.
Holy shit.
And then I forget what triggered us talking again, but I think he like asked me to do something, and we just reconnected. And
yeah.
So we talk every once in a while, but he's busy just being a director.
Sure. Hey, I mean, as long as you guys are both happy, I guess. He seems like he's and you're a super happy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of negative stuff in my life, but it's just how you channel it.
Sure. I always like to wrap it up with what I call dadicdotes.
Oh,
and
all
so
right.
like, do you have like a particularly fond memory or fun memory of you and your dad, or like I don't know, like a vacation, or I don't know. What's your favorite dad story? If you haven't told it already.
Imagine if I just said I don't, and then we just ended the pod.
It's happened.
Like, no, it's always been pretty boring.
Yeah.
It's not like necessarily like anything crazy. Like, yeah, it wasn't like anything crazy, but like I just always have fond memories like walking to the library with him like every weekend, and like checking out books, and he'd be showing me all these movies too. So it was just like he's a minimalist, so it's like there's like nothing in particular that sticks out, to be honest.
Sure. But that sounds like a pretty sweet memory, walking to the library, because that's where you got your love of sci-fi from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's great, man.
If something comes up, it's going to be after the podcast, and we'll have to go in and re-edit it and make it a big scene.
It's all right either way. Theo Manhattan, tell people where they can find you on social media.
I'd love to, Dave. Facebook, Theo Manhattan. Instagram, the IG, at The Most Relatable Man.
The Most Relatable Man. I'll link this stuff, and I'll link this stuff in the show notes too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then you're on Twitter too.
I am. I don't really use it that much. But it's at Mind of Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Yeah, you can still go on it. I have like jokes that nobody retweets. So.
Yeah, I mean that's all I used. I realized Twitter's become like it's like my digital joke book.
Yeah, it is.
I scroll. I'm like, I forgot about that joke. Maybe I'll make that into a bit. Because I don't do much with Twitter either.
It's like 2 years old, so it's fresh to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I'll go like deep dives on my own Twitter. I'm like, I forgot I tweeted this. This is okay. Dude, you were a ton of fun to talk to. Thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, there's still a day left of good times.
Yeah, man. We've got you. It's Monday now. We've still got you guys here tomorrow night. Last night was a ton of fun. So, yeah, dude. Thanks so much for coming up.
That was a great podcast.
Dude,
talking about dads.
Yeah, man. We keep it fun. So, thanks again, Theo.
Thank you, Dave.
We're back.
All right. That was Theo Manhattan, everybody. How cool is he? Theo is like one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's so nice.
Really?
Yeah, super nice.
Wow.
He's and he does a lot of cool stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's just bouncing around. Yeah. So, yeah, follow Theo on social media. He's a real positive force, I feel. The scene needs. Just comedy in general needs more people like Theo Manhattan. Just really sweet, really warm, really supportive of everything that's going on around him. And I can't thank him enough for doing this today. His dad's a real dynamic and interesting dude, too. What are you doing?
I'm dancing.
They can't see you dancing.
I know.
Why do you do that?
I don't know.
You know what you should do? You should dance with your mouth. And by that, I mean talk.
What? I don't know how to dance with my mouth.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any cool catchphrases for the podcast, for the dadites out there? The sad dadites?
I don't know.
Do you have any advice?
What does that mean?
Advice? It's just like, it's like a small piece of, it's like a teachable thing. Like something that like you can say to somebody. Like if I say to you, I got to give you some advice now. I'm really painting myself into a corner here. Okay. Here we go. Tell you have a lot of friends, right? Mm-hmm. Tell the listeners what's the best way to make friends?
Telling them, you want to be my friend or something like that?
Okay, so that's your advice on making friends, huh? Does that work every time?
Sometimes, maybe not.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Has it ever not worked? Have you ever said that to somebody and they're like, "Nah, I'm good."
No.
No?
I haven't even said that. How I make friends is I talk to people, then we make with other kids in school, and then we make friends.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
What do you guys usually talk about?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. I don't know.
I don't think this is very good advice.
I just talk to them, and we just keep chattering like that,
Uh-huh.
and then we're friends.
Small talk, huh?
Yeah.
That's the trick? Mm-hmm. All right, well, you heard it there, folks. Best way to make friends is asking people to be your friend. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Cool. Do you have any recommendations for the listening audience on things to watch? What's something you're watching right now that you would recommend?
I don't know. I can't watch YouTube, so I watch YouTube Kids, which is supposed to be better for kids.
What's a YouTube channel that everybody should check out? What's like your favorite?
I don't know. Each day, well, people usually that are on YouTube, they watch the same channel every day. That's not me. I watch different channels every day.
Oh, well. Like, what were you watching just a little bit ago? I saw you were watching something.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
What was it about?
I don't know.
Was it about, like, Minecraft or something?
No.
No?
It's not a gaming video, that's for sure.
Oh, what was it? Were they just doing practical jokes? I gotta pay attention to what you're watching because you're clearly not paying attention to yourself. Was it a cartoon? Was it a...
I don't know.
How can you have that short? Yeah, how can you not know? It was like 5 minutes ago. It was like 10 minutes ago.
11 minutes and 33 seconds.
All right. Okay. Well, you've divvied out some advice. You've introduced the podcast. You were so excited. I thought you were going to have more to say.
Oh. I don't really have that much.
You don't have much?
Even though I chit-chatter a lot.
Yeah, even though you chit-chat a lot?
I like... Sometimes I say stuff like that. Sometimes when I say something with a different letter, I'm like, sometimes when I say mommy, I say mommer.
Mommer? I've never heard you call me dadder. Hey, dadder, what's going on? All right. Well, tell everybody bye.
Adios.
Adios, everybody. We'll see you next week. We'll be back with a really fun episode with a guy named Nat Baymel. Talk to you soon.